there's perhaps a few questions we want to talk to you about. L'École Française de Poker is mainly concerned by training and how to learn. So, what is your story, your personal story about learning poker?
My story is probably not typical because I got interested in poker because I noticed that when I first started playing that the people who were playing poker were very uneducated people. And I realized that poker was like games such as chess, bridge, backgammon, but those games had already been analyzed well. And the best chess players, the best bridge players, the best backgammon players were very well-educated, studious people who combined many talents, but they were very good at logic and probability and statistics. So when I started poker, my competition was very weak. Almost everybody did not understand these subjects very well. And but nowadays it has changed. Nowadays college students learn poker and try to make a living at poker, and they are well educated. So to become good at poker now would be a little bit different than back when I first started. Because when I first started, all I had to know was the mathematics of poker and know about odds and probabilities. Now there's much more to learn because most people know those things. It is not as easy to get to be a great poker player now as it was 30 years ago.
Your books, and more precisely theory of poker, make breakthrough in poker understanding for all of us. There is a time before you read this book and there is a time after you read this book, considering the game. Do you think that theoretical research and strategic research in poker could make the game evolve and improve? And do you think there is some field or some terra incognita to conquer just now? Is it still possible to make a new breakthrough, just like the gap concept or thing like that, in the future? Or do you think it's over and it's more about talent and skills?
There will be no breakthroughs like that anymore. What I did is I applied known theories such as game theory to a game where it has not been applied to. Now that we have
von Neumann, Nash,
right, and now that it has been applied to poker, there is nothing new theoretically that can be done. Now, it's important to understand that if you use game theory to play poker, you are not extracting the maximum amount of profit that's available unless you're playing against unreadable opponents. The very best players usually don't even know game theory. What they are good at is figuring out the other person's hand, or they know how to manipulate their opponents into playing badly. And the theory that can get you to be a very good player and a player who cannot be exploited by experts still does not get you to be a great player against average players. In other words, if you are a game theory player and I am a instinct player, if I play you, you might be able to beat me. But if we both play average players, we will both win, but I will win more. Because to play theoretically means to play in a way that cannot be exploited by an expert. So if I'm playing non-theoretically, and you are playing theoretically, you will beat me. But you still will not beat the average player as easily. To give an example, suppose a chess computer was playing an average player, and Kasparov was playing an average player. They will both win, but suppose you got extra points for winning quickly. The fewer moves you use, the more extra points you get. Kasparov would easily beat the computer because the computer, when he's playing the average player, is assuming that the average player will make the right move, or make a good move. Kasparov will see that he's not a good player. He will beat him quickly because he will do less than optimum plays because he knows that it will not be exploited. The same thing in poker. If I'm playing a bad player, if I am good at seeing why he's bad, let's say, for instance, I notice that he is afraid to call a big bet, then I can bluff him many times. You are playing theoretically, and you will still beat him, but you won't beat him by as much as I will. So there's two different types of expert poker playing. There is the expert poker playing to play against other good players, and then there's the best way to beat bad players or average players. That can never be described theoretically. That's talent, that's instinct. A better example for a theoretical player is Andy Block or Chris Ferguson.
Chris Ferguson, yeah, obviously. Yeah.
Alan Cunningham can do either one. That's why Alan Cunningham is one of the very best. Alan Cunningham almost certainly is better than the other two people that you mentioned because he knows both sides of it.
Do you think?
Although Daniel Negreanu, even though he doesn't like to admit it, knows much of the theoretical side. Daniel Negreanu is much more theoretical than he pretends to be. I know that for a fact.
Is internet playing on a computer is a standalone discipline, and there is great players who are not succeeding. They are not so good on live tables. So there is a real and true discipline online behind the screen. I said
the internet does not reward instinctive play. Yeah. The internet rewards people who play more theoretically, especially the ones who play many games at once. You see, again, theoretical play, without really knowing that much about your opponents, will win, but not as much. However, when you're playing on the internet, you can play 10 times as many hands per hour. So if you just play your automatic theoretical game that cannot be exploited, randomly bluffing, randomly calling bluffs according to game theory, understanding the pot odds, you can make quite a bit of money, maybe $200,000 a year, $300,000 a year, just playing in fairly small games, but playing 8 games at once.
Yeah.
These players, when they play live games, will do okay, but they had no reason to learn some of the more psychological things. So there is a pretty big difference between the professional internet players and the professional live players.